Shabbat shalom. This is the first time I've been speaking when I'm not doing the Hebrew prayers today. So I would like to thank the leadership and the worship team and you, the congregation, for allowing me to be your cantor and allowing me to give today's message. So there's a cartoon in the 90s. You've probably heard or watched it called Animaniacs. They had a part of the show called Good Idea, Bad Idea. They were all something like this, but it has less comedic effect without the video. Good idea, play a trumpet in a marching band. Bad idea, play a piano in a marching band. That's not going to go well. Unless it's on wheels and you can push and play it, it's not going to go well. Or you're on a float. That could also work, but if you can't carry it, it's not going to go well. God has his own good idea, bad idea list called the Torah. And I'm going to be talking about a part of God's good idea, bad idea list that talks about how important being obedient is. Because that's what the message is all about, importance of obedience. What does obedience mean exactly? Obedience means an act or instance of obeying. What does obey mean? Obey means to comply with a command or direction or request of a person or a law. Who here heard the word command in the definition of the word obey? You did, apparently. God has his commandments, and we said two of the greatest today. So by obeying his commandments and doing what he instructs us to do, and continuing to do it, what do you think we're doing? Yes, we are being obedient to God. If he asks you to help someone, help them. If he asks you to go somewhere, go. So today I'm going to be talking about the theme of the sermon, importance of obedience. So now we're going to move on to the reading the scriptures. Now we're going to move on to what the curses and blessings mean, because it could be confusing what they mean. Starting in Deuteronomy. Who is speaking in this passage? For some context, because I like having context, Moses is speaking in Deuteronomy. These are some of his final words, which I think is impressive for someone who was about to die, personally. So that's a lot of words. Blessings. Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 7. Now if you listen to and obey to the voice of Adonai your God, taking care to do all of his mitzvot that I am commanding you today, Adonai your God will set you on high above all nations. Then all these blessings will come and overtake you, if you listen to the voice of Adonai your God. Blessed will you be in the city, and blessed will you be in the field. Blessed will be the fruit of your womb, and the produce of your soil, and the offspring of your livestock, the increase of your herds, and the young of your flock. Blessed will be your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed when you come in, and blessed when you go out. Adonai will cause your enemies to rise up against you, to be struck down before you. They will come out against you one way, and flee before you seven. But if you will not listen to Adonai your God, to take care of all of his mitzvot and statutes that I am commanding you today, all these curses will come and overtake you. That was 15. So, there. Now it talks about curses and blessings. But what do they mean? First, let's talk about the curses. What do most people think of when they think of curses? Magic. Yes. They probably think of a curse like, I curse you, and now everything you touch will be set ablaze. That's probably what most people think of, magic, in some sort of form or way. Now, you can still have that in your movies or TV shows or whatnot. You can still have that. But that's not what they mean in this context. They mean if you don't get the blessings. From God, they mean you don't get the blessings from God. That's what I meant to say. When it says, but if you not listen to the voice of Adonai your God, to take care of all of his mitzvot and statutes that I am commanding you today, all these curses will come and overtake you. We see the word commanding. We talked about that earlier. Commands. Obedience meant to obey. The definition of obey was a command. Yeah, we already went over this. But by keeping his commandments and doing what he tells us to do, in my opinion, we're being obedient to God. Another way to put it is we give our dog cake at night. Yes, we do. But when he messes in the house, he doesn't get cake. It's a fair rule. So him getting the cake is the blessing. Him not getting the cake is the curse. I have an analogy for everybody today, and I like to call it Yeshua the driving instructor. I like to think of God as a driving instructor, because you don't know how to drive on the road of life when you're born. You don't. Everybody has probably heard of the phrase, it's harder to walk on the good path than the bad path because the bad path is bigger. Just because the bad path seems better, it doesn't mean that it leads to the right spot. With the help of the instructor, you will be able to discern which the right path is. What do you think will happen without the instructor? You'll probably drive off or fall in a ditch. That's probably what's going to happen. If you're on the highway, you're going to fall in that ditch on the side. It's not going to be good. Or you'll hit someone. That's another thing. You'll get into a car wreck. Having the blessing is having him in our car, but the curses are us thinking we can just learn to drive by ourselves, which we can't. We can't learn to drive by ourselves. That's not going to work out well. The other thing I was talking about was hitting somebody, which would be like getting into a bad argument or, getting into a fight with somebody. And you probably don't talk to them for a couple days. You have a conflict. All right, where are we? Yeah. Our final destination at the end of the road that we're driving on is eternal life and fellowship with God in heaven, which we're going to talk about in a couple of miles. When I was 10, my parents took me to a very special place for my birthday. It was fun, but it was a little dangerous. So before we could use the facility, we all had to watch a safety video and take a test to be sure that we understood all of the safety rules. If we passed the test, we could use the facility. If we didn't pass the test, we wouldn't, and we would have to go home. Thankfully, we all passed the test, including me. The blessing was we were allowed to use the facility and participate in all of the activities they had to offer, and no one got hurt. The curse would have been not being able to use the facility because we didn't pass the test, because we weren't paying attention. In our daily lives, the test is our obedience to God. In this scenario, the video is Torah telling us the rules. If we don't pay attention, we can't be obedient to God. Matthew 13, 1-9. On that day, after Yeshua left the house, he was sitting by the sea, and large crowds gathered around him. So he got onto a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood on the shore. And he told them many things in parables, saying, "Behold, a sower went out to spread some seed. As he scattered the seed, some seeds fell by the road. The birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they didn't have much soil. They sprang up immediately, because their soil wasn't deep. But when the sun came up, they were scorched, because they had no roots. Other seeds fell among thorns. The thorns grew and choked them out. But others fell on good soil and were producing fruit. They yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears, let them hear." Matthew 13:18 through 23. You then, hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and doesn't understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in the heart. This is the one having been sown along the road. The one sown on rocky ground is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root himself, but lasts only a short while. And when trouble or persecution persecution comes, not arrives, because of the word, he immediately falls away. But the one sown among thorns is the one who hears the word, and the worries of the world and seduction of wealth choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. Now the one sown on good soil is the one who hears the word and understands. He indeed bears fruit, yielding 100-fold, some 60, some 30 times what is sown. In Matthew, it talks about soil. But what does the soil represent? It represents us. Yes, it represents us. Not our physical us, our spiritual us. And the sower is God, and the seeds are your faith. Being obedient to God means you have good, fruitful soil, but in opposite, being disobedient, I'm having all the problems. Being disobedient means you have hard or difficult soil. Obedience is like spiritual fertilizer. It helps your faith grow. But what are we growing? The fruit of the Spirit, which is joy, peace, kindness, patience, goodness, self-control, gentleness, faithfulness, and love. This is the part of the blessing that God gives us through our obedience. Had used the Phoenix kit. Isaiah 60:19 through 21. No more will the sun be your light by day, nor the glow of your moon be your light, but Adonai will be your everlasting light, and your God for your glory. No more will your sun set, nor will your moon wane, for Adonai will be your everlasting light, as the days of your mourning end. Then your people will all be righteous. They will possess the land forever, the branch of his planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. I like this part of Isaiah 60 because it talks about God being our everlasting light. Now, what does that mean? I understand it as God being a scarecrow that scares the crows of evil away. Like in Matthew, we had the crows. He scares them away. We don't like the crows. And that protection will last forever because he is eternal. Since he is eternal, we should be obedient to show our gratitude for him being our everlasting light. Speaking of light, what do plants need to grow? Light. Our faith is like a plant. God being our everlasting light means that our faith in him can grow. Faithfulness is also one of the fruit of the Spirit. And we are growing the fruit of the Spirit with our spiritual fertilizer and our good soil. Galatians 5:22-23. But the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. Now let's go over what we just talked about. Obedience is God. No, that's not. Okay. Obedience to God means to obey his commandments and do what he tells us to do. The curses is God not in our car. The blessings are him in our car. Or curse not getting the cake, blessing getting the cake. Depends on how you want to look at it. God is the sower, the crows are evil, faith are the seeds, and we are the soil. God is the everlasting light that scares evil away and helps our plants grow and produce fruit. And the fruit is, well, the fruit of the Spirit. As we close out, I want to give a special thanks to Rabbi Yuri, Rabbi Tsanina, Cantor Derek, and he's not here, but Pastor Bodie, because he's off doing a wedding, so he couldn't be here today. And my best friend Killian. I know, I have to put the spotlight on you. I know, I have to put the spotlight on you. And my parents, Daniel Sharkey and Bethany Sharkey. Oh, and Ruth. Forgot. Sorry. You helped me a lot with that. That's it. And now my dad will give a few words.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We're very proud of you. You did an excellent job. Yeah, you did an excellent job. And we all appreciate the work that you put into this. And what I want to say is that when Mommy and I first got married, it was like, oh my goodness, we're gonna have a child sooner than we were planning, and it was very shocking. But it was all according to God's plan, and you're such a blessing for Mommy and me. And when Mommy had her ablations done because of the circulatory system issues that she was having with the electrical work, she had to. I'm kind of saying this to everybody else, he knows, but okay. But she was in bed, essentially on bed rest for it was 3 to 4 months, essentially during that time. And I think you were about 2.5 years old at that point. And a lot of people could say that it would be a great burden, that you were in the house, or like she's on bed rest and you're in the house and all of that. But you were anything but a burden to us. Wow. You were a joy. If I was taking care of Mommy, I would come out of the room and you were just happy, playing with toys or whatever. And it was just something that kept us going to have you there. And I love the fact that when you and Mommy went to Illinois, that she kept playing Star Trek Catan with you over and over again. And you were 5, and she wouldn't let you win. Nope. And then you won. And it was an amazing day for you. Yeah, when you won fair and square. And I love the fact that happened because it gave you a very good attitude about playing games and everything. And you realize that the point of playing a game, it's ultimately not to win, but it's to have a good time in the process. And that makes it, a blessing to be around you. And I also appreciate that you've been able to be friends with all sorts of different people, especially sometimes it can be people that don't fit in with everybody else, which makes it really awkward. That I'm not saying anything bad about you, Killian. You're awesome. But I appreciate that quality about you, and I appreciate your spatial intelligence and your engineering mind, where you've been able to craft things for different per and play productions and everything. Like, you're just like, just give me some cardboard and duct tape and I'm gonna make a masterpiece.
The handyman's secret weapon.
That's
Duct
yeah,
tape.
that's right. The other day I was doing some yard work and essentially trying to cut down a tree. And I'd been out there for like 2 hours and I was very tired and came into the house. And you're just like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, I'm just thinking about how to cut this tree down. Like, I'm not quite sure, I'm not quite sure how to do this to make sure that it falls in the right direction, that it doesn't fall into the house. And you explained to me and said, well, Dad, what you need to do is cut it on the cut it on the side where you want it to fall first, and then on the other side you cut it you cut it in the way that you don't want it to fall, so that you create leverage when you're doing the cutting. And I'm like, yeah, that was a test. I was just totally testing you on how to do that. So yeah, good work. We're very proud of you for making this, for doing all this work, for making this decision before the Lord. It's a great blessing for us, and kind of just want to. I want to thank everybody who normally wouldn't be here for being here today. I want to give a shout out to Mike and Kelly and Jenna, who wanted to be here, but they're my brother and family, sister-in-law and niece. So they were not able to be here today. And also a shout out to Dad Dando, and of course your Beth, your mom, and my wonderful wife. I'm gonna close out with a scripture reading, because after all, I'm holding the microphone, so I feel awkward not reading scripture if I come up here. It's weird. It won't be on the screen. Mark 9, 36 through 37. This is about Yeshua. Taking a small child, he set him in the midst of them. And taking him in his arms, he said to them, whoever welcomes one of these children in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me welcomes not me, but the one who sent me. And our children are a gift. Our children are a gift from the Lord. And it's our responsibility to take care of them, to love them. And my short advice about that is to seek the love of God, to have the love of God reign in your heart so that you can pour that out for your children, and also to remember all of the people who have been a blessing to you in your life and have brought you to this place, and that is now your opportunity and your turn to pass along those gifts to the next generation. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.